All right, so today you guys are going to be exploring the absolute value function, and you'll need your graphing calculator in order to do that. So I just wanted to kind of give you a little instructional video on how to set this up. So you should have a paper. I know I cut off part of the directions, but the format of the equation is y equals a times the absolute value of x plus b, and then the plus c that's on the outside. So on your graphing calculator, you're going to hit y equals, and we're going to type in this first one. So we have a 1. To get the absolute value function, you're going to hit the alpha button, the green, and then you're going to hit, I think it's F2. Yes, the window key. And you'll see right at the top, it says ABS, and that's what you want to choose. So you should end up with this symbol. To get the shortcut key to the X, because you can find an X down here, you can hit the green alpha button and then locate the X. But there's a shortcut key right next to the alpha button. You'll see an X, a T, a theta, and an N. The mode that our calculator is in will give you the X. So if you hit that, you should have an X. And then you can actually just hit enter. And so that's the equation. It should match what we have in there. Now notice if you look up here to the format of the equation, y equals a, absolute value x plus b, and then the plus c. Notice that there is what's in this spot for a is a 1. What's in the spot for b, it would be like having a plus 0, so they filled in a 0. What's in the spot for the c would be like having a plus 0, so it's a 0. To get the graph, we are going to set our window. So we're going to go ahead and make our graph look like this graph. So if you hit the window key, actually, I'm going to start by going zoom 6. Zoom 6, if I hit the window, if you do zoom 6, that's a standard viewing window, goes from -10 to 10 in both directions, counting by ones. But I'm going to adjust that. So it looks to me like this calculator, if I go from -4 to +4. So I want my x-min to be -4, so I type that in. I want my highest value over here, it looks like maybe a 4. And I want to count by ones. And I want my lowest y value, it looks like maybe we'll just go -4. And we'll have the highest value be 4, and we'll count by ones. And you don't have to worry about the rest, and then hit the graph key. And then you can kind of adjust. You can see how the graph goes on there. Now, I talked about this in, well, maybe it wasn't your class. You'll notice that the tick marks on the x-axis are wider than the tick marks on the y-axis. And that's because this is a rectangle and not a square. So there's another feature on your calculator that will make it more like square graph paper. If you hit the zoom key, notice number 5 says z square. You can either scroll down to number 5 or just hit number 5. And that just squared it off. So you'll notice I have more tick marks on the x-axis than I do on the y because I have more space that way. But notice the spacing is the same. So I recommend you do that. Now you'll see that if you were trying to transfer this over, you might have trouble on that. I will just do your best. And the vertex is this spot right here where it kind of makes the V where they connect. So in this case, it's 0, 0. And then you're going to talk about whether it opens up or down. Okay. Now, you have an option if you want to do a table of values. And I think I showed you guys how to do this, or at least I showed some of the classes. So let me show you how to do a table of values that you could plot points if that is easier for you. If you go to second table set, which is the window key, you want to set this up. You can leave this at 0 and 1. That won't matter, but you want to make sure it's set to auto. So my table is going to start at 0, and I can adjust that. And it's going to count by ones, and that's probably what you want to have it do. So you set that up, and then you can go quit. Now, if I want to access the table, it's above the graph key and it's in blue. So I hit second and then I hit that key. And this gives me a table of values. Now, notice if I scroll up, I'll get negative values. So you could plot the point -3, 3, -2, 2, -1, 1, and you'd see those are the points that would be on here. So if you want to, you can plot those points. You can make a table to plot the points. So the table is going to correspond to whatever you have in y equals. So that's how you would know. So then for the next one, I'm going to change this number. You can either clear it, or if I type over the 1 and make it a 3, I'll have what I need next. And so that's what I'm going to graph. I can hit the graph key and I could see, wow, that now look, it's a kind of squished and skinny. And if you want a table of values, go second table and pick out the values that you would want to plot. I don't think I want to plot negative 412. I might not even want to plot negative 39, but I could maybe just plot negative 26, and then you know the general shape of the graph. So that's what you're going to have to try and do. So when you're going to do all these graphs, you're going to complete this chart. See what happens when you put a negative sign in front of that 2. Then you're going to see what happens if you have nothing in the inside with the X, but you have a +25 on the outside, or a -4 on the outside. So let me just show you how you have to type that in. I'll clear this out. I'll do this last one. So if I want to do the absolute value of X, so remember I hit alpha and then the F2, the window key, choose that. And I'm going to put an X in there. And then you have to bump the right arrow so you get out of the absolute value, and then -4. And then if you hit graph, and if you ever get to the point where you don't see what you want to see on the graph, remember you can hit the window key and you can change your values to anything you want. So here, and you can also go to a table of values and see that. So that's how you would change that. So just make sure you are clear on that. And then this one, notice that the value is inside the absolute value. So let me just make sure you know how to enter that. Alpha, hit the window key to get the absolute value. Then you're going to go X +3, and then you can bump out. So make sure that it matches. And then you could go to the table if you want to and see some values, or you could hit the graph and see what happens. So then what you're going to be doing is you have some questions that you have to answer about the absolute value function. So that's what you'll be doing. And then I think after this, when you're done with that, you have a video to watch.